Vietnam veteran and Aliquippa native Edward Surratt is the #1 suspect in several murders that span across Ohio and Pennsylvania. Having been convicted of murder and sex crimes in both South Carolina and Florida, Surratt is now serving multiple life sentences.
Come down the valley with me. Come down where darkness came to be. Come down, the story still told. The night the shotgun slayer took hold. Come down the valley with me. No stranger thing has happened, you see. Come down, so brazen and bold. The night the shotgun slayer took hold.
While it is impossible to pinpoint particular moments that transformed Edward Surratt into an alleged serial killer, the information that we have about his life and about his crime scenes can give us clues as to why these vicious murders happened.
He's quite different as a serial killer in that most truckers who are serial killers are just picking up prostitutes, easy prey, hitchhikers, things like that. They're not making a big effort to go find victims because they don't have to. He's making an effort because his fantasy dictates entering homes of a particular type. When someone picks out a person, it's usually because they represent something and they work out in the fantasy.
He would prowl the neighborhoods, rode a bicycle through the neighborhood. He always looked for houses that were a single floor.
And he would pick a house, one story, so that no one could be up in the second floor and come down and surprise him. And then he would break a window, rush in with his 12-gauge shotgun. As soon as he saw the man, shoot him, kill him. That allowed him then to take his time, rape the woman, and then eventually kill her.
In some instances, as with Linda Hamilton, Renee Greger, and Nancy Adams, the women would disappear.
He's just moving along according to what his fantasy dictates, but he's not averse to acting on an opportunity either. If he's in the mood and he sees someone and he just wants to do something else, that's a victim of opportunity. And so that will break that pattern, make it difficult to link that victim.
I think his MO was to use military-type tactics to try and surveil these people. I think he laid in wait for quite a few of them. I think he went in and showed that he was capable of taking out the man so that the woman knew that he had that power over them. I think it had a lot to do with that psychologically. I think he apparently hated women. I mean, look at the brutal tactics that he used. Everybody would like to believe it was Vietnam. I don't know if it was or not. I was in Vietnam. I didn't go out killing people after I came back. But Mr. Surratt, for some unknown reason, rejected his mother and father's direction because they were well-to-do people and they were people that could give him whatever he wanted.
We sometimes look at these cases with the known behavior and think we have the whole story. It's rare that we do. Even with serial killers who confess, they often won't confess to their earliest crimes because they botched them or they've done something that they're embarrassed about.
Something happened in his life. Not sure what it was. We haven't been able to figure that out, of course, but every guy that's ever committed a homicide that I've interviewed, that I've talked to, has something that traumatized him. And these offenders are not trauma-informed. They don't understand trauma, so the way they deal with it is in different ways. Some of them become very aggressive. Some of them do the opposite. They retreat. They become hermits. Some become alcoholics, drug addicts. There's so many different paths that people take with trauma. But an offender like Surratt, the path that he took, that was exasperated by some internal emotion that he was having that he couldn't control. And so it came out in the form of the behavior that he was involved in. There was anger, there was confusion on what was happening inside of him, and this was his way of dealing with it. You can call it sociopathic, psychopathic, but definitely personality disorders were in part of his life that created this type of chaos. It doesn't excuse behavior, but it helps this system. It would help Surratt understand, why this happened.
Well, I remember speaking to Alan Pass several times through that whole investigation. And I don't think anyone disagreed that this guy was a sadist. He was a schizophrenic, any psychological term you could come up with. But then we started talking about him being in the service in a search and kill situation, and that's almost what it was like. And then throw in the rape situation. But I remember interviews coming into our office where he had some friends or girlfriends, and I think even a prostitute, to talk about some abuse that happened with them. And I remember the one interview, and I believe this was a prostitute that said that the only way that he would have sex with her if it was on a gravel road and mud and things of that nature.
In the late 1970s, Western Pennsylvania police weren't experienced in investigating serial murders, and the presence of a serial killer deeply impacted not only law enforcement, but the whole community as well.
Mr. Surratt is one of the first and only serial killers that I know of that was found to operate here in the Tri-County area. I mean, when's the last time you've read about a serial killer in our area? They didn't exist here. This is Pittsburgh, Allegheny County, and we never had anything quite like that. So it was quite a test for law enforcement at that time also. And thank goodness we had the people working that we did, and they were able to sustain some of the pressures.
It was something that everybody was talking about. I mean, the whole community was in fear at that time. People were putting bolts in their doors, and I had that done too, a bolt put in.
The part of the kill is that power and control of their victim, but also of a community. So when Surratt came into Beaver County in western Pennsylvania and started doing what he was doing, and he was seeing what was in the newspaper, it was feeding his behavior. It was making it more exciting for him. You can profile serial killers all day long, but one of the biggest parts that feeds it is the addiction of the power not only in the community, but power over his victims. Surratt would kill the one spouse, the husband, before the wife, and then put that wife in fear. And so he had his, the way he would do it and create that fear even before he would kill him. And that is very much what serial killers do. They will torture their victims before they kill them because they like that part of it. That brings them the thrill by watching them cry and scream and show that pain before he actually kills them.
I haven't dealt with a lot of killers over my time, but I've dealt with some. I would say I've never dealt with an individual that I think was more heinous or more evil. He was a very, very evil person.
It's been 40 years since the death of the victims, and all of their families still remain deeply affected by the loss of their loved ones. On the next episode of Notorious, we take a look at what it's like to live with tragedy.